Hello folks, welcome back. Just thought I'd share something that I was turned on to and really reminded of, which, as you're seeing now, this is a video I shot. And I saw one of these bands play quite a while ago.
You might as well, since Kid Rock played some Metallica.
Well, of course, since Kid Rock did it, obviously we can trust Kid Rock. He's not part of anything bigger.
Ladies and gentlemen of Germany, West
I
Borland.
think it's important to note the behavior of the Red Hat in this situation. What does the Red Hat do when confronted with a CIA operative who possesses skills that no one else has, and is, of course, dressed entirely in black paint, black eyes, an upside-down cross on his forehead? And, of course, the Red Hat just sits and obeys. I don't think any of this is accidental. I don't think anything that was done. I mean, look at the production value. You can't... The production value would not allow for any sort of improvisation or anything like that. This is obviously staged.
Welcome back, folks. My producers are telling me we had a little bit of technical difficulties just a minute ago. But anyway, that was a video by the Krow, who we are lucky enough to have with us here. Let's just see where he is.
Hello. Hi, folks. I'm sure in a moment the video will be resolved. And we can all talk about some of the stuff that we're interested in mutually, which brings us together.
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
Here I am. Hi, folks. Thank you, Tick.
Thank you.
Glad to be here. I'm glad to talk about some of the stuff that's been on my mind lately. Been kind of an interesting little segue in my own life, because I've had many changes in my life and many things that have led me to looking back, looking at history and just the way that history forms, the present and things like that. So I'm glad to talk. I mean, we just watched that little video I made.
Yeah, the red hat, I mean, is kind of a weird thing. It's funny that you were talking about that, and also Marcus mentioned the red hat.
I know, I was sitting here watching, just kind of biting my lip. Very exciting to meet anyone else that's sort of engaged in this sort of research. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think we're going to be able to get Carl Cogsworth on. I'm not sure if you guys have spoken together before, but he's also...
No, we've spoken before plenty of times, although mea culpa if that's not supposed to be public. Things can get a little bit odd when you're trying to look back at history, even if it's only maybe 8 years ago or something. So
Yeah, that's true. So can you tell us a little bit, I mean, some of the lore of the Red Hat, maybe, or...
I could. No, I easily could. And you know what? I've been neglecting my notes here. So, first of all, in that video that we just all watched together at the same time, what a miracle of technology that is. That video that you watched right at the beginning, it had kind of what looked almost like a home video clip. And that was actually me shot with the same camera that I'm shooting with now. And if you notice, I mean, anyone could kind of go back to the live stream probably and rewatch it before it gets deleted. If you'll notice, this is the exact same camera. And if you look at the color scheme, I mean, I can see it right on the, because I have these red lights and stuff. But I can see that it looks very different. I mean, this is the same camera. It's a Sony Hi8 video camera. Everyone had one back then, when that tour was going on. And and you look at the color and just the way that, like, this is the real video. This is what I can send, I can send this video from that exact same camera right through to the show. And you just go back and look at that clip that I sent, because it's obviously been altered since I edited and uploaded it. So
Okay.
that was just one thing I wanted to point out. Same camera, and also kind of a little bit of a like intellectual continuity between what we were just talking about, which was Master of Puppets. Very interesting choice. So why don't you tell our audience why you had me on here? Because I've been on all kinds of podcasts and video shows, and
Well, I mean,
there's a certain thing that you're looking for here, because I think your channel is fantastic. So
well, yeah. I mean, I'm a bit new to all this, and so I'm really lucky to be talking to, like, two of my favorite, people in this kind of scene. And so, well, I was really hoping we could get, you and Carl talking here. And so once Adam tells me that he's ready, then we'll get him on. But,
that sounds great. No, you're doing great. I mean,
but
every I mean, it's a little funny, I look forward to, I kind of almost wish I could talk with like Adam or the guy you had on prior, because there's just a certain little age gap going on. Where, how old are you? Like, what, 17 or something?
well, I'm actually I'm actually 19.
Mm-hmm. So you're young enough. Okay. So you're actually young enough. You don't remember things like Hot Topic and Spencer's Gifts and Zoomies and stuff. I mean, that was
My mom would
well
take me to the
after.
Eureka Mall, and because we moved up to like there after Sacramento, and
Beautiful place. Yeah.
yeah, well, uh, they still had Spencer's Gifts when I was there, I think. I did get some funny, stuff there, but yeah, it went away really fast.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a certain thing. I mean, I don't know. That's great. I'm glad. I mean, I'm happy that Zoomies is still around. That's
Yeah, well,
you know,
Zoomies
more-
is cool. That's where you can get a lot of cool stuff now.
Yeah. It also just could kind of act like some sort of intellectual stimulant for people who are kind of cynical towards the way that pop culture progresses, which I really appreciate, because then, I mean, if Zoomies is still around, of course,
Yeah,
it's
well,
still
it's like
around.
that kind of like fuck you attitude that I think is pretty cool.
I
It's
mean,
cool when
it is what it is.
I
But
mean, my favorite shirt when I was in high school was that one that was like, stop looking at me. You think I'm weird? What are you looking at?
that was actually, that was a really good shirt. As I kind of went over in the video, I used to be kind of involved in participating and paying for a ticket towards Family Values tour, and of course, like anyone else, I've since looked back and gone, what? How silly
That's so cool
it
that you were able
was.
to go to that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really interesting. It cost about, like, I think it was $8.25. It might have been $8.50. They might, like, if they had raised the price to like $9.25, I would have just not gone. But I think it was like $8.25 a ticket. It was a very good show. But then, of course, I've come to more than realize that a lot of elements in the family values, like I think Marcus was talking about a little bit ago, they don't actually quite make sense. It's almost like, okay, sure, if I believe this, I'll believe anything. with that in mind, I mean, I'm sure are we kind of stalling for time with the guest here?
Well,
That's
Adam was
usually
telling me that I
no.
should
That's
take some
usually
calls, maybe. So I might take a
we
call.
could take a call. We can take a call anytime.
Okay, maybe we'll do
I'd be
that.
glad to. I also have plenty of other interesting things to expose for everyone here. So
Okay, well, let's see here. We have a call.
Hey, can you hear me, Mr. Tick?
I can hear you. Yes. Welcome to this.
Yeah, hold on. My son is on the line. He has a question. Give me a second here. Jonas,
that's cute.
Jonas, just go up to the phone. Just come on. You like these guys? It's like your favorite. This is part of your career. Okay, come on, buddy. All right,
Hi, Jonas.
Mr. Tick. Hi.
Hi, Jonas.
Hi, and you guys are. I really like you guys. I play a lot of Minecraft stuff. Like I have my own world. I'll share the link later on in the feed. But I just wanted to ask your guest a question. I really like his research too. What does he think about Wes Borland, the guitarist from was it Limp? Yeah, from Limp Bizkit. Wes Borland. What are his ties to CIA and other? You're gonna buy me the fucking Minecraft. You're gonna.
Thank you.
What are the ties? Yeah. So, I really like your show, and my dad. Yeah. So, what does Wes Borland have to do with the CIA and stuff?
Thank you,
I
Jonas.
really
Thank you, Jonas.
deeply appreciate that sort of thing.
That's so cool. Yeah.
And that just sort of of course.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you too. Merry holidays to everyone
You
involved.
can hang up the phone now, Jonas.
I
Stay
find that
tuned.
particularly interesting
Damn.
because we think, many of us, I just think about a lot of times I think about words and just what do these words mean, and what have we been told that they should mean, and then I think about things like Borland, and this was in some long forgotten era where we named things like Jonestown was named after a person named Jones. Very simple people that we had back then. And so we think about something like Wes Borland. And then you look at some of these old maps, and especially old maps, and you see things like West Borlington. You look into it.
Weird.
And these kind of these phonetic evolutions end up actually being, plenty of people, especially children, will be like, oh, what about Fred Durst, or what about West Borland? And I think when you actually reach the age of, some sort of adulthood, and then by some luck you stumble upon sort of the chronology and the truth movement, then you start to realize that these are trivial questions like, what was Fred Durst or something like that. It doesn't really matter. You look deeper into the names of these people. Go ahead and look at my podcast called Children of the Crow, Children of the Crow with a K.
Yeah, it's a great podcast. I listen to it all the time.
It's been pretty fun. I'm just gonna actually do live for the people listening and stuff. I'm sorry, kid, but stay where. Look at the Call Into the Kitty podcast, because I'm gonna go ahead and just break down a little something that's usually behind a paywall on Gumroad, but I'm gonna go ahead and just break it down now. So I looked at. So mommy and daddy, if I were to say to some children, mommy and daddy used to fight over the remote. They used to say, oh, I want to watch this channel. I want to watch that channel. They were fighting over what was back then channel 33, which was MTV, Channel 32 was VH1. These are kind of, I mean, and you look at the first letter, right? MTV, VH1. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. So you always had this conflict that I see so many times when people talk to me. These couples come in for consultations. So I always get, and this is just something stupid. I mean, MTV versus VH1. Which one was better? Time-honored thing, especially in nu metal. But MTV, I just want to do a little numerology breakdown like I would on my paywall video stuff. So, MTV, you look at those words, or letters. MTV. M, obviously, a lot of ideas there. T, and then V. Perfect. The T, I'm going to, I've always argued, I mean, there's plenty of videos that I've made that do this. The T is actually supposed to be a Roman numeral serifed I. So you get the top bar. Here, I'll do some camera stuff here. Get the top bar in the T, right? Goes across the top. Then you get the vertical bar. But there's one that I argue has just been worn off or not acknowledged. So when you see these tablets, you think it's saying MIV, and you think it's saying MTV, but what's actually worn off is the bottom part. Okay. So MTV, we're gonna say, and we're just gonna approach this from kind of maybe an esoteric standpoint. So M, obviously, is the Roman numeral for 1000. I wish I could show a little PowerPoint here. M is 1000, right? So you got 1000. And the T, obviously, we've just proven is actually an I, but because of erosion, then people thought it was a T. So the I equals 1 in Roman numerals, as we all know. And then we have the V, which is 5. And you notice in the kind of the crest of when you point this out, even on your own hand, we see the V there. Only one angle, which is kind of interesting. And then so you add all these together. Or, well, if you're new to numerology, okay, so we put all these together, we tack it onto the end of the number, so we get 100015 for MTV. It's important. 100015.
Okay.
You add
10015.
in numerology. I mean, this might be news to nobody, but if you add in numerology, you go from M. You go from the left to the right. So you add these together. You get 1000. Disregard those. 15, and you get what? 2 plus 5 equals 7. I won't even go into, I mean, most of it, which I'm sure many viewers are accustomed with. The number 7, obviously, in the Danzig song or whatever, 777, there's infinite amounts of things. We have 7 layers of skin. The rainbow has 7 colors. Sound has 7 notes, each mode. There are 7 directions. Okay. And the Jewish menorah has 7 candles. There are 7 holes in your head. Go ahead and count them. I could go on and on and on. There's 7-year cycle in economics, and this is, that's a whole podcast in its own. So we got MTV, that's 7. Okay, very sacred, very holy. Then we've got VH1. V, as I've already said, 5. H, which you instantly go, okay, it's not a part of the Roman numerals. I get to go home. Class is over. No, the H is actually 1, 1, and another 1 going horizontally across that. So you get to 3 for that, 3 ones for H. And then you get to 1 on the end, VH1. And since we're talking about letters, V and H, so 1 is actually going to be an inverted L. So you get that little straight line, and then you get a little curve. And if you turn that upside down, you get an L.
Okay.
And the L in Roman numerals is 5. No, okay, actually, maybe. Let me see here. Wait. The L in Roman numerals.
That
Might be.
sounded
I
right
might
to
have
me.
rotated it. Okay, no. I see what it was. I rotated it too far. So you've got, and this always happens. So you get the one straight line and that, and you rotate it only 45 degrees for the L. Or no, not for the L. For the one interpreted as a letter to a number. So you get 5, just like the V, because an L turned on its side 45 degrees is a V. And if you add those together, 5, 3, and 1, you get
Duh.
9.
Yes, of
9,
course.
yeah, which is
One of
obviously
Tesla's favorite numbers.
I won't even go into that. I mean, yeah. How many lines are there on a pyramid? Obviously, I lost some of my good paperwork about that. But there's lots of things, 9 and that. So what do you have? You really have like, so you have the 7, which is like more of a Christian, like 777, like in the Danzig song, and then you have like kind of more like I think it was man, and then you have the old world VH1. And what did VH1 do? They always did pop-up video, and they did all these things, and like I love the 80s, so they were always interested in history, and it makes sense that they would add up to 9, which is more of a like old world holy number. So that was just something that I thought was kind of interesting. I know earlier we were talking about I don't know if we have callers, feel free to let them interject because I could go on forever like this.
No, this is really interesting.
And so, yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, this gets back to all kinds of stuff. And I feel like we didn't actually really go through piece by piece, too, what that video that you showed, one of my favorites that I've made.
No, me too. That's one of your best.
Some of the stuff that showed, I mean, I don't feel like many people let that sort of stuff sink in, but it is like Fred Durst has a red hat. You could say red cap, red pill, like any of these sort of. Anytime you see red too, like what's it make like a cow do? It makes them mad. Red is like a very interesting color, and especially to wear it on your head, because that almost signifies like a brain fire. Like if you break down red cap into like some sort of combination. I mean, it almost means like fire is red, and then cap is brain because he like it capitulated or whatever. And so I looked into a little bit of this red cap stuff, and so we had what Fred Durst. He was sitting there dancing around in his red hat. We have Ben Stiller. I don't know if we showed we didn't show the full clip of Nookie, or no. What was it? What was the
rolling video? We'll have to put
rolling.
That in.
Oh my gosh!
We will have to put that
I know that's
in
a shame
because that's a really important video as well. Let's see.
I mean the idea. So they start the video, if I remember right. They start the video with Owen Wilson and Ben Stiller, and they get out of a car, which already like
because they were filming the movie Zoolander at the time, which is super funny. But they were filming.
Yeah, I don't even want to get into how you rearrange the letters from Owen Wilson and Ben Stiller and Zoolander. Like you could come up, could write a whole book with what those sort of things rearrange to. But so those guys get out of a car, and where are we? Probably in New York City. Big red flag there, and then we see Fred, or someone who calls himself Fred Durst, sitting on a bench, probably feeding some birds or something, and then he refers to the loser as Red Hat, and that is one of the most overt, I think, one of the more overt deep state sort of wink wink nudge nudge sort of things that I've seen in a long time. I mean, that was just crazy. I remember when that came out, I went out in the streets and I was just like people were, rioting. when they had whatever that video was, because it was finally the first time that someone famous just spoke directly to the Red Hats, which was kind of nuts.
Wow. The Red Hats.
Yeah,
who are the Red Hats? I mean,
there's so many of them. It's one of those things. It's almost like a sacred geometry, but it's like a sacred colorology, or I don't know, what do you call that? Huology? I think it's huology, where you talk about colors, and it's a sacred huology, wherein the color red just keeps showing up. It shows up everywhere, man. If you convert, you look at all these photos, these old photos. What are they? Sepia toned, obviously tinted with red. Why do images get red as they get older? And even the language too, where it's like, I read this book, almost like you burned it, or like anything. You can, like, when you consume stuff, they turn red, but in like a almost a spectral, music of the spheres, or something like that, almost like some sort of electromagnetic spectrum that we're just not privy to. It starts to come to place, and then you start seeing it everywhere. You see Coca-Cola, oh, it's red. The Republican Party, oh, that's red. Half the American flag is red, half of it's white. White is a combination of all the other colors. So you've got the Republicans mixed with, a kind of a melting pot and every other stripe, and it just gets all, red, and color theory is really good. There's lots of good, like cracked, or what was that one that went out? BuzzFeed. A lot of good BuzzFeed articles on that.
Yeah, I think it has to do with something with like the fascination with blood, because blood's red, and like I was saying before, people don't want to talk about it, but it's in all of us.
Oh, it gets really creepy, man. I was talking. I almost feel like I could show that video again. I just,
sure,
I guess I spoke. I spoke during the video, but you could play it again.
We'll play it again, and then hopefully we can come back with Carl.
Like
let's do that.
Yeah.
We'll take a little break here, and we'll come back with Carl.
Maybe this will whistle to him a little bit, and just see.
Okay.
Because there's something here, and I really respect his work, so I'd just be interested to talk to him.
Yeah, I have another one planned too that we can show it as well. So we'll do that.
Yeah, if we have yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we'll start.
Sounds good. Thank you, Tick. Thank you, everybody.
Of course. Let's see. Looks like I'm having a little issue here. Okay, I think we figured it out.
Red rum.
Okay,
Red hat.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. Let's see here. Let's see what this video says, and then we'll go into your video, and then hopefully we'll come back with Carl and you.
Red hat.
Red rum. Red rum. Red rum.
Are you ready?
Red rum.
Are you ready?
Red rum.
This is the story
Are you ready?
of the road.
Are you ready? Come on, move in, now move out. Hands on the
Beautiful day in the park.
Beautiful day in the park. Beautiful day in the park.
Everything's under control.
So even if you hope,
Everything's under control.
so even if you hope,
What I want to know is,
They died.
yeah, we're okay.
so even if you hope you'll never have to use it,
But children not only die, they die too.
We'll float too.
They die too.
What I want to know is,
They die too.
We'll float too.
But children die too.
who's going to shoot us?
They die too.
Y'all are so depressing.
beautiful day in the park.
They die too.
Child locator.
What I want to know is when it's all going to end.
But children,
It still has to work.
I hate living in fear.
Hello, folks. Welcome back. Just thought I'd share something that I was turned on to and really reminded of, which, as you're seeing now, this is a video I shot. And I saw one of these bands play quite a while ago.
You might as well, since Kid Rock played some Metallica.
Well, of course, since Kid Rock did it, obviously we can trust Kid Rock. He's not part of anything bigger.
Ladies and gentlemen of Germany, West
I
Borland.
think it's important to note the behavior of the Red Hat in this situation. What does the Red Hat do when confronted with a CIA operative who possesses skills that no one else has, and is, of course, dressed entirely in black paint, black eyes, an upside-down cross on his forehead? And, of course, the Red Hat just sits and obeys. I don't think any of this is accidental. I don't think anything that was done. I mean, look at the production value. You can't. The production value would not allow for any sort of improvisation or anything like that. This is obviously staged.
Okay, welcome back. So we have back with us the Krow, and Carl is going to be here as well. And I'm your host, The Tick. There's nothing weird about it. Here we go. Let's see. Hey guys.
Hello, hello. Thank you for watching my little video. Obviously, it speaks for itself, but I could expound if needed.
Now I just wanted to get both of you guys here on screen, and so yeah, I mean that really drives it home for any of the skeptics out there. It's pretty clear. There's a red hat, there's a red balloon, and if you follow it and if you keep on rolling with it, then it's kind of unsure where it'll take you. And so I wanted to say hello to Carl Cogsworth, who we have on with us here now. Carl.
Hi, Carl. Thank you. I'm sure you've been having very blessed days, but I wish the best for you, Carl. I've used a number of your YouTube videos and my own YouTube videos. Been very helpful, and I thank you for that.
Thank you, sir, for being a patron of mine.
Yeah, it's cool. Like, you guys are always like exchanging and going back and forth on YouTube and sharing stuff.
Yes, I have my products online as well. CogswellBeardsmith.com.
Yeah, you're
Bearding
making.
products for the professional beardsmith and all of it.
I use that for my mustache. Yeah.
Good. That's good to hear.
And so, Carl, I mean, with what we've been talking about tonight, some really heavy stuff, both like figuratively and literally. The music is super heavy. Basically, you know, I was talking to a former bandmate of yours earlier tonight before this whole conversation started, which kind of got, you know, spurred on by this phone call that we got asking us about all of this that, you know, we weren't really planning on talking about, but
Okay, I believe you were talking to Marcus.
Marcus, yeah. Marcus
Okay.
is a really cool guy.
Great person. Yeah, I love Marcus.
We
so
had a
much.
really interesting conversation about
God,
corn.
he's a great guy.
Sorry, what was that, Carl?
I think
Oh, he's a great guy. Delay on my apology.
No, it's
Fine,
okay.
I
You're
think-
across the pond.
Yeah. I mean, I was just gonna say too. I think that Marcus was probably the biggest influence on the band that you two shared.
Right, that's what I wanted to ask you two about, was that you guys were in a band together, and this was, you guys opened for the Deftones, if I'm not mistaken, and that's where you not only saw a lot of weird shit, but you were just kind of making your break.
Yes, that's true. We opened up for the Deftones, Korn, and a lot of other bands, and Souffle was the name of our band, Skid Mark Souffle. We played a number of shows, and you know, as I saw it, there was a number of suits that started attending those early shows, hanging around. I think that's where Marcus got much of his inspiration.
So it sounds like Marcus was willing,
he
was willing
Marcus,
to do some stuff that you weren't.
Yeah, and we saw a lot of the suits getting involved early on, and they were starting to form contracts with the other band.
With like Rick Rubin and the contracts.
And Skid Mark Souffle, we had a particular ethos about us. We wanted more of our Victorian inspiration of brass, gold, shiny, you know, things that more adept to what we were in. But what I wanted was, you know, something more along the lines of Jinkos and wallet chains and a very different aesthetic. We weren't willing to compromise, sell out, and you know, it's unfortunate looking back. In a sense, if we were to exploit what was truly happening, we could have gone a different route, and Marcus and I could be in a very different place at this point, really, if I think about it. But no, we weren't going to sell out, and you know, we wanted to do what. I think that was our resolve.
Yeah, and so that was kind of like probably your first actual experience with it, but maybe you didn't hear about it until later. But what we've kind of been talking about, this, you know, the family values conspiracy. So basically, you're saying that these suits tried to talk to you. They wanted to steer your music in a different direction that you didn't want to be in. And then I also thought that you had worked with Powerman 5000.
Oh, well, yes, we played a number of shows with their early incarnation, and subsequently I ended up trying out as a vocalist around the time doing their recruiting effort. And, you know, I think I wanted to try out as being a vocalist, and the gentleman they brought in, though, reminded me strikingly of Mr. Rob Zombie. And Rob Zombie is a certain stature. He's a real gentle girl.
He drives a Dragula.
He's a real Dragula. And, you know, I think we became accustomed to him when he was hanging around in the early days and doing all of his, weird incantations. But the gentleman that ultimately ended up filling the role as vocal Power Man was of a very minor stature in comparison to Rob. And,
So he was like Danzig or
yes, he was like
Meatloaf.
he was like a mini Meatloaf, Danzig type fellow.
Right, squatty, squished. Like,
Very squatty and squished.
Mm-hmm.
Called him Spider. It was all in the. He was wearing a Danzig T-shirt. Sam Hain. He was wearing a. And it's like, my favorite band. Very strange. And I think what Marcus talks about, him being a clone of Rob Zombie, actually makes sense. So, that's an entirely different thing. But
I've seen his films, and compared to the greatness of Sir Rob Zombie, the greatness of his films is actually, if you look at the ratings, exponentially. There's like a projection. If you project out from a point of 0, and then you compare their stature, the two directors. If you were to like send a line from a point, and it went straight to Rob Zombie's head, and then it went straight to the following director's head, that line would actually be along the line of a perfect projection, probably at 33 degree angle or 66.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that.
Whereas the way that they stand is obviously 90, so there's probably
Well, that like Marcus may have mentioned ties back into Project X.
Yeah. How many angles do you see?
Right,
I see 4.
Well,
which is a very complicated number in itself. So
it really is.
And then, so, I mean, you guys have shared a lot of information and research. I'm curious, like, what you guys, if anything, are collaborating on recently. I know that, Crow, you've been doing a lot of stuff with numbers and, like, kind of...
Kids in Narc.
Well,
Narc, actually, no, I'm sorry. Narc actually derives from the Greek term nargos, which means 9. Notice how they both start with an N. So that was just a little joke for the people that are in tune with this 369 thing. As far as collaborating, yeah, we've done some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've seen some of your videos, and they're really, really pretty crazy. I mean, basically, it seems like you guys have tracked some of this Red Hat stuff down to being like this goblin shapeshifter, even potentially.
I agree with you. I feel like
yes, and if you recall, we were discussing earlier about the Irish red-capped demons who would roam the Irish woodlands, and they would replenish their cerebral faculty, if you will, with fresh blood of young children.
So adrenochrome.
Right. So as like
elves,
I said,
yeah.
Marcus may have talked about with the adrenaline, which was Deftones' first album, Adrenaline, talked about adrenochrome. Essentially, Chino was picked out of the audience as the vocalist for the band, but it was no accident because he was already a high-ranking official in MI6. And yes, I know everybody's like, oh, Chino doesn't have a British accent, but he actually does. And some of us may have insight into this.
That's beautiful. This is why I always appreciate you and Marcus. I mean, that's amazing.
Well,
And
we were in a band together, and we just kind of observed it all. So,
Well, and the idea too, like, is just driving me crazy. MI6, VH1, MTV, it all ties back together. I mean, MI6. I don't even have to go into like what that means. Like M.
Well, we were just doing our best to protect the Queen. Hands across the waters, as they say. I mean,
Yeah.
the best that sorry, not the, we. I mean, the best that Chino was trying.
The royal we.
Right. Chino was he was doing his best.
I'm sure. I mean, a lot of this stuff too gets lost in the sands and histories of time. It's not up to me. I don't know what is right or what is wrong. I merely pose questions into the various things that I find interesting at the time. In fact, I mean, as you might notice, as I did recently, some subscriber tipped me off, is that the Krow, if you look at Krow with a K, which I thought was kind of interesting, and I thought at the time I was just kind of doing a phonetic thing, but if you look at Krow backwards, it actually spells out work. And I made a note here. I made a note, which is just like this, some of these things that I do, these videos and whatnot, and appearing on this and talking to great folks like yourself and the Tick.
Well, did you notice at the end of that video it said it still has to work? It still has to work.
And rolling. And that if you think about Sisyphus and the idea of like when did work become something important to the mind of primordial man? Sisyphus was actually rolling a stone, and so that like in Fred Durst, Doist. I mean, I won't even get into some of the cool stuff with Fred. Or Freud, as they used to say.
Marcus might have mentioned, Fred is probably a lot older.
I thought that blew my mind. I could not believe
he probably is between 67 and 68 years old, and an actual term. His peers who went to him, military training facility in the 1940s. I mean, this gentleman is much older than we had previously thought. When we saw him, I mistook him for one of my uncles. I was like, "Hey, Uncle Jim, like you're." It was very.
And of course,
Uncle Jim lives in Bristol, so that was.
He just looks like a stepdad trying to take his sons to go fishing now.
Right.
I mean,
and Marcus wrote a book about that. So, yes.
Yeah, you could talk to. I mean, I always saw that Fred Durst, whoever was his publicist or something, that was actually his dad, and he actually seemed to learn because you look at these older Fred Durst things, and he's talking about marketing and all these things, and it's like, well, where did just a normal guy learn that sort of stuff? I wanted to say too about the red cap because I feel like I didn't really fully get into the red cap stuff.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, red cap, immediate, mind-boggling electrical force kind of courses through your spine. At least if you're, sort of in the groups that I talk with most of the time. But obvious first thing, Red Hat Society. Founded in 1998, which seems very coincidental with possibly the family values tours, which, if you'll notice, I can't remember the exact dates, but I do remember that when I looked at them, the exact center point of the years that that tour occurred was in 1998, which would make, you think about like an energy focal point, like with lasers or with light, you focus the beam, right? So the average, the middle, basically the median of certain numbers can have importance. And this was an all women's society, which I thought was interesting. That even as if you couldn't be more overt than they already were, having their video on the top of the Twin Towers and such. But he had all these red-hatted women dancing around behind him, wearing his clothes, which, as we know, is kind of an old CIA trick, where you had all these cross-dressing people, like even the founder, and many other people. Like, there's a long history in the CIA of dressing up like women, acting like women, having sex with other men.
Do you think that Fred Durst might be a woman?
I think that Fred Durst is a shapeshifter for sure. I mean, as we already talked about, he can live for long periods of time. He can be whatever he wants to be, and it just so happened he turned out to be, something really attractive to everyone.
Maybe he's like, he just like, the spirit goes along with the red hat, and then whoever puts it on.
That could be, yeah. I haven't.
There is some interesting information going back to Jack the Ripper, and drawing the blood from the women on the streets. That there may be some ties into Durst's early.
No, you're right. No, you're totally right.
With Jack the Ripper.
Yeah, and there was no light back then. He would only kill at night. And everyone assumed, like how blood turns, really dark brown, purple almost, and how the hat that he wore, no one got an accurate assessment of. But I think it was only because the sightings occurred at night. So I'm glad you brought that up, Carl.
No, you're perfectly welcome.
And
these are all.
He always said that he was
we
just
can
wanted
trace
the
back
nookie
to Durst.
too. Like that, maybe that's what Jack the Ripper was looking for.
I mean, don't even. Yeah, I could. Let me just try and find this here.
This is pretty crazy, people. I don't think that people are bringing you this research, and we're doing this live.
It's easy too. So if you look at a letter analysis of Nookie, letter N. I mean, this all goes back to stuff that's way older than even your parents. Nookie, letter N, driven by love of change and excitement. People whose names start with an N, or song lyrics, are resolute and will only do as they please. Letter O appears to set a tone of great outcomes following one's well-meant efforts. And, another O means an inward glance into the O discloses an innate confidence in emotions rather than facts. And it goes on, but you can see, I mean, if you break down the word Nookie,
this is what Marcus was saying about the ritual.
And you can write the whole thing with a calculator if you turn it upside down, which always drives me crazy.
Yeah, I did that in school.
Because you have the mu, MU, the mu, which is like a U-looking thing with a line. And then you got, of course, 0, 0, and then you got 3. Or no, for K, what did we do back in middle school? For K, we did probably 7 or something. Then we had I, and then E was 3. So, one of those kind of like mathological constants that you find in all kinds of places. So, I'm right there with you. I feel like I'm going a little too hard with the numerology. I'm sorry.
Well, not at all, my friend. When it comes to Slipknot, that's kind of another interesting thing, is that they were actually a counter-op to the Family Values operation from most of our American and European. So it was an Israeli counter-op, or
Wow.
something to the psyop, if you will. And,
Yeah.
and those gentlemen in Slipknot, or backwards tongue pills, other oppo name, there were participants of the Enneagram, which is that 9-pointed star. So there was quite a bit of numerology involved with that. And what it involved is 9 selected agents every 9 weeks for 9 years that would each use a remote viewing tactic in order to embody a homeless person from a certain a nearby venue of where the band Slipknot would be playing, and they would embody these homeless people, and they would put on the suits that the Israeli intelligence unit there on site, and they would have the jumpsuits and the masks and everything, so nobody would ever know who's who. And it was really quite an oppo intelligence, just a symphony of greatness, really.
Yeah.
It reminds me. I
beautiful.
know. It reminds me of all the people that you always have on stage when you watch something like the Family Values tour. I mean, you just look. You can pause any of these videos and just look off. You might have to up the gamma or something, but you can just see. I mean, there are men in suits littering the stage, the dark parts of the stage for these tours. Really,
Right.
just-
Yeah, that was part of the initial rituals. I mean, I don't know how much Marcus talked about it, but Rick Rubin was the original intelligence gatherer. He was the Richard Doty, if you will, the man behind the making of the bread in the sky.
Something
was
just
there.
occurred to me, like, it's called nu metal, NU, and maybe that stands for numerology. And
That is probably
Yeah.
a good point.
this is a
yes, that makes
9/11
a lot of sense.
ritual, and COVID.
What is metal? I
19.
mean, yeah, metal too. I mean, such a strange metallurgical.
Right, it's like an
It's
Why-
alchemical,
why-
actually.
Why would you pick that though? I mean, yeah, it's like
doing alchemy.
Yes,
That's
it's very
true.
John Dee. It goes back to John Dee and all of our obsessions with such.
That's weird though, man. I mean, that actually kind of trips me out, man. That they called it metal.
Yeah.
And also the transitions of alchemy.
And you've
Yeah,
got
the
like the
three
like what
stages.
rock, and the Rolling Stones.
Like you were saying
And
with
then you-
working, it's like
and then you've got
Sisyphus with
metal.
rock. And then
Rock
Right.
becomes metal, and then the metal becomes something else entirely. It transitions into a new form, if you will. And I do believe that is part of the ritual that has been exploited.
That's pretty interesting stuff.
And so we're basically coming to
Okay.
like the full circle of that ritual now, because I'm
Yeah,
like I'm
what's
almost
next?
20, I'm 19, and so like I'm almost 20 years old now. I've been going through this ritual since the day I was born.
Yes, that appears to be true.
Haven't consummated it yet though. So it's
You're getting close. You're in that peak that our friend has spoken about.
Yeah.
yeah. I do want to. Okay, I want to point out too. A lot of. I mean, you're young. You're a very young kid. There's so much that I want to say to you, but it's not appropriate to try and tell someone that young.
I've
Plus,
been
you'll
on a
just
lot
think
of
I'm.
forums. I've seen a lot of stuff.
No, but I think you'll, yeah, those are forums. If I were to log in with like an anonymous user and talk to you, I'm sure I could get what I want. But I can't because I'm actually an elder, and I look at you going, oh well, the Spencer's Gifts, how retro. But then I think about too. I forgot what I was saying. I'm sorry, I'm getting old.
It's okay, brother. You're not the only one. I mean,
I know.
in thinking
That's
about
rough,
Spencer's
though.
gift seems to This is
No,
like a
that
mind, like a
that
mind
wiped-
trap. Like I think about
that wiped
Spencer's
me,
and
man.
like I see holographic dildos and
I know.
just like weird black
There's lots
light
of good stuff there.
testicle things and
They had those
yeah.
funny cards too that you could get for like women that had a naked guy on them.
Oh yeah,
They were,
yeah.
they're so
like, hey,
cool.
look, hello, Catherine. Here's some genitalia for you.
Way ahead of their time.
It really was.
I mean, it's because like the Gen Xers are like kind of like super funny. They kind of made the funniest stuff, like The Office and like,
Yeah.
The Simpsons, the newest
really
seasons of
good
The Simpsons. You know,
Metalocalypse. Metalocalypse is one of my favorite primetime. Like kind of,
Yeah.
it's like more true than most shows.
Wait, and there was also the Agua Kids.
Yeah.
The Agua Kids. The stomach. Something.
Right. Yeah, with the stone. They like two Stone Age guys, and they had
There's
the
that
meat.
old fellow.
The meat. Yeah, that was a good one. I'm sorry, kid. We're probably boring the hell out of you.
no, I mean it's like
Old men
it's really kind of like over my head, but I mean I do remember like when there was like girls who were really into mermaids and on Tumblr and stuff like that, and that's kind of like maybe what your guys are talking about.
Tumblr. Yeah, no, you're right. There was lots of great stuff. I remember all the great punk bands started on Tumblr.
Yes, there was so many good.
We're just glad yeah, anything you do, and I just want to say this to all the viewers, just do not get depressed. Don't kill yourself.
Don't
I mean
get
that.
sad on pills.
And just say no.
Stay
I
near
mean,
windows that aren't above.
if you're suicidal, say no to drugs, and if you're on drugs, say no to suicide.
And
It's always
say
been
no
this.
to windows.
Well, yeah, because it's not all for you, Damien. Don't don't fall victim to any of that jumping out of windows shit.
That's right. Don't watch Rosemary's Baby. Oh,
Don't.
And
Yeah, and definitely don't watch Rocky Horror Picture Show. Don't come with don't go with your dad and mom.
don't
or
become the
dad.
kissing girl at the live Rocky Horror Show. Become somebody's.
Don't go see The Room. Definitely don't see The Room in like at a public showing in San Francisco.
Green Room on narcotics.
Yeah, and if you I know if you run into anyone from kind of those old great B movies from the 80s, don't talk to them. Call your parents, tell them, pretend you're on the phone.
Stay away from any men claiming to be Bruce Campbell that want to drive.
Yeah.
That is not a good choice.
I know. No
I don't know who any of these people are.
Right, but that's why we're
You're
telling
really
you.
cute.
Yes.
Maybe they'll make a TikTok video about him.
Can children like you carry a firearm in the state? But you're able. Are you trained in?
No, but I'm like I do know how to make a 3D printed gun. So.
Okay. So you're in one of those mine.
Yeah, I played a lot of Minecraft
earlier too.
Right.
Minecraft is pretty cool. It's good for the kids. And
It is good for the
it's
kids. They craft
if you look
things.
at right,
And
they
Second
learn how to
Life
build.
was really fun.
So that makes me think too of Donnie Darko. What a weird
favorite
movie,
movie.
man. That shit was sick. I'm sure. Okay, this brings us all together. Probably we've all seen Donnie Darko.
Yeah.
Great movie. Had just it was weird too, which I'm okay with. But it also had a lot of interesting social commentary in it. But I also want to say, DD. I don't know actually. You know what? Give me a second here. Let me just look at the Roman numerals.
I mean, that was my favorite movie.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I think
Yes,
I watched it. I watched it. I think it might have come on, or we put it on that same night, the first night I smoked spice or pot.
It was funded by the girl that made E.T. or was in E.T. Young girl.
Okay.
She played the alien.
I believe so.
I'm gonna do a quick reading here, so you continue on, but I'm gonna do a quick numerology reading of Donnie Darko. Let's just continue on.
It's Donald Trump's favorite movie, which is so weird. Like, it's one of those things I'm like, don't cancel me just because my favorite movie is the same as Donald Trump's.
Yeah, always doing stuff like that. D 500. N is gonna be N.
It's actually like why I wear these bunny ears. There's the rabbit in Donnie Darko.
I don't remember. I don't remember the rabbit in Donnie Darko. I just remember Donnie.
The white rabbit.
Really?
A Terminator.
That's interesting. How that rabbit thing? Because I just in my video that we just watched too, it was like on stage, West Borland had this rabbit icon basically, and it had some incense stuck in its mouth, and
every time that Donnie got aroused, the rabbit came around. Whenever Donnie was feeling a bit randy, the rabbit would surface, give him insight to time.
Pretty good. I know. I thought it was interesting. It wasn't really realistic because we didn't see them have sex or anything. We don't get to see them eat or use the bathroom.
Well, there was that climax scene, playing thing, where Donnie got really aroused, caused him
really
big life. Something happened, and ultimately involved Donnie's great climax with Rabbit.
Yeah, that was when I was peaking.
Yeah, the rabbit was a symbol for sterility. White rabbit. It's like this
white sterility.
White reflection. It doesn't really mean it. It signifies the rabbit's journey. Nihilistic.
Which makes a lot of sense now because all of the QAnons are following the rabbit.
Yep. And how
we're all
white,
becoming sterile. Yeah.
I like that too. How the rabbit's white, because you think of white as a sign of virginity, right? And then you think of a white rabbit, like what? What? What is that?
It's like the unsoiled. It's beautiful. Because it's
I know.
unsoiled.
She's like the biggest whore who's never had sex or something. That's crazy.
It doesn't
man.
smell
That's weird,
like
weirded me out.
what you ate for dinner last night.
So I think it's kind of funny too. So Donnie Darko, I finally wrote up this little numerology thing. So if you got D, that's 500. If you have N, which is really M in Roman, then you have 1,000, and those numbers all add up. So Donnie adds up to 8. Darko adds up to 11, and if you put those together, you get 19. I mean, it works out to it's almost like it's trying not to be the holy numbers, which kind of fits in with the theme of the film in a way.
It really
kind of cool. It's weird how they thought that out.
Yeah, that is really weird.
Cool.
Spielberg was really on board with the thing. If you think about Close Encounters of the where all the research kind of triangulated.
Yeah, how many kinds? You have so many kinds to choose from. Why would you pick the number 3? If not as an acknowledgement.
Us as a
I mean,
delivery boy.
why don't we have 4 guests on here? All kind of. Why don't we have 4 guests? You know, we've never had 4 guests. I'll tell you why. Because the number 3 has special meaning.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true.
I just wanted to. I don't know if I actually went into. Did I go into the Red Hats being the Phrygian cap thing?
No,
I don't think I did.
Not really.
No, so yeah, I mean, I keep getting sidetracked because I'm having like so much fun with my friends. But the Red Hat, obviously, we see it with Sir Donald Trump, and we see it with Sir Fred Durst, and we see it all traced back to this thing called the Phrygian cap. I'll post a link to this in the description afterward. But the Phrygian cap, I'm just going to quote and read this off, is a soft conical cap with the apex bent over, associating in antiquity with several peoples in Eastern Europe and Anatolia, including the Balkans, Dacia, and Phrygia, where it originated. So a lot of big words there. Who knows? I looked into a few of these though.
Yes, the Phrygians, but yes, go on.
Exactly. I know. Of course, that's why I like Carl here. But so let's see. The original cap of liberty, which is what the Phrygian cap was, and we can of course tie that to present day, where we're the only people looking out for liberty and libertarianism, are wearing these
Totally.
red caps. Sorry, I just heard one of those explosions. God, all these are driving me crazy. These
One of those booms.
Do you hear that?
I've been, the mystery booms. We've been dealing with the mystery booms.
I hear them all the time. I mean, it feels.
Quite
Here,
some time now.
let me try. Can I hear?
There's
them?
the splitting of the earth, if you will. The underlings. Marcus has done some research on this.
No, it's obvious. Yeah, of course. I know, and I really love Marcus's work too, because these are obviously geodesic splits. But
well, he refers them to as the sphincter of the earth singing its internal trumpet.
Right.
Elation.
No, yeah.
Like a fecal plume coming to the surface with its great bounty into the sky like an aurora.
It makes more. Yeah. I mean, it makes more than enough sense because the sphincter, which obvious sphinx reference, but then it I think my video. Why is my old camera that I used to film that old thing? But the sphincter, it didn't just sit there. It doesn't just like open when you have to take a shit. It pulsates and it has all of its own frequency and stuff.
It's like a magical door, through the labyrinth, colon and the intestines. It opens when it wants to, closes when it wants to.
It's kind of like a cat or something. It reminds me of a cat.
It is like a cat. It's like a frustrated 1980s fantasy film. Wants to exploit all kinds of tropes.
But like real cats. I mean, I see exactly where you're going, and
with real cats,
believe me.
Not fantasy cats. I understand.
No, where you're going though gives me a lot of pleasure, and I agree with that. But I'm just talking real cats. How they pretend that they don't want to be petted, which kind of ties back to the sphincter thing.
Yeah.
So I was. It's just a few things that you pick up if you're in this line of research. So I was gonna say, my camera's working again. So the red cap, the Phrygian cap, it came to signify freedom and the pursuit of liberty. Although Phrygian caps did not originally function as liberty caps. We'll go ahead and ignore that.
First?
That doesn't seem very interesting to me. I'm going to find something that just kind of feels right. Let's see here. The Phrygian cap. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, France. Okay, here we go. So, in late Republican Rome, a soft felt cap called the pileus. I don't have any connections there. Served as a symbol of free men, i.e., non-slaves, and was symbolically given to slaves upon manumission, thereby granting them not only their personal liberty, but libertas, freedom as citizens with the right to vote if male. That sounds great. I mean, everything about the red caps. I mean, I'm just like, yeah, yes,
It
sir.
sounds very libertarian.
Your
Or
camera went
It's
off
got-
for
again.
those of Brits.
Krow.
I know. I agree. I love that about.
Yeah, that's very
Why does my
interesting.
camera keep turning off? What is this?
I think that they're trying to cut off your feed, Krow.
I can't help because this camera's worked since that video we just watched.
Are you not
I
on, like,
use the
3
same
VPNs,
camera.
Crow? Are you
I
not on,
am.
like,
No,
3
that's what I mean. It's like
VPNs?
I've used this. It's a Sony high 8 camera that I've had since that clip we first watched. I filmed that clip with this. And the idea that that would stop working is just absolute bullshit. So forgive me for a second. I'm going
Yes.
to fix it here.
Yeah, understandable.
Understandable. Well, this has been an incredibly fascinating conversation that we've been getting to have here. I don't know. Is there anything else that we wanted to get into? I'm thinking about the red hats.
Oh, I
And
actually do
you
have
said
a
Phrygian.
story for you, Mr. Tick.
Okay. Let me
If
just,
you'd like to hear it.
something I was just thinking about in terms of the Phrygian. I've been learning how to play guitar lately, learning some like Atreyu songs, and there's a lot of Phrygian scales. And I don't know if that has anything to do with what you guys are talking about, but it seems like there might be something there.
Oh, there most definitely is. With the Deftones. There's a lot of things that tie back with them. But also certain Phrygian scales that Mr. Davis from Korn used to engage in. So some of the seemingly glossolalia rent appeared to be just something cool for the kids at the time. You're fairly young, kind of understand what might have been the reason why we actually even thought that was something cool and hard.
Carl, you're cutting out just a little bit.
So, Korn used to do this song called Twist, and some people thought lyrics were like, ooh, mountains in the Zion, Far East, and Thailand scouted by the Nazi. So, it was fairly complex, but really it was a hypnotic chant. So Twist ended up being the first track off of Life is Peachy, their second album. And it was actually kind of funny because when we would watch them perform that song, 30 seconds in, it was like a hypnotic retreat. After... And we sort of knew, whenever they played that song, we sort of knew that we were going to wake up somewhere we're not previously. We were just standing in the crowd listening to Korn. And Mr. Davis is going about his glossolalia-like vocal ritual. Ooh, what the fuck about? And,
Yeah.
we're just like, oh, just sipping drinks, having a very casual. I would, because I'm part of that scene with Marcus, and I would wake up in the toilet sometimes. I wake up in some hotel room, back alleys of blood, maybe an animal, or probably an animal. And It was like a hypnotic ritual was being tested out. Many of the members of the crowd would pick up their pants soiled. It was quite an embarrassing experience for the entire crowd because we were just listening to the song Twist. That we all smelled like something quite repulsive. It was a tragic experience.
Wow.
I thought there was something funny about it, but everyone's pants and genitals were
Of
soiled.
course. So they
People
had
waking up, freaking out.
had-
They're all, what is happening to me? I've lost my mind, lost my marbles.
So
my
they
testicles
had,
are inside out.
Wow.
so they went to the bathroom.
You would wake up in the bathroom,
I mean,
wake up in
the
your mother's womb, because
the physical. I'm only concerned with like the physical processes of the human body, like
well,
pus
that's
and-
where I think it surpassed, seems like should be physical reality. Mr. Davis going, what about it? And we were just like, oh, this is entertainment. No, it's part of the ritual. Wake up and it's like part of a porcelain toilet and you have to peel your skin off. What is this? It's like a Manhattan Project. Very, very.
That's so basically he was speaking in tongues, is what you're saying. It was a
It
form
was
of.
speaking in tongues, but it was part of a very specific ritual.
It was almost like a ritual that was making
Wake
people have like an ASMR effect, and then they went to the bathroom in their pants, and then wow.
You might wake up, and you're like, oh, I have an erection, and you look over, and, oh, what is this, and why does that smell that way? And you're like, this is some man. I believe he's Nick Nolte's illegitimate son. I think I've seen him on TMZ before, and that type of thing. You can only deal with that a certain amount of times before you're like, oh, this is this should not be happening. Just being a patron of a fellow band, I don't mean to put my member into a homeless man who appears to be Nick Nolte's illegitimate son, who appeared on TMZ several times. That's not really the type of thing that you want to do as a patron or concert goer.
Yeah. That's super weird. So basically, they like hypnotize everybody. Is that Disturbed song doing something similar then when it starts off like that? Like, ooh, ah, 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 when it does that?
Oh, definitely.
Maybe
Definitely.
Cueing into the same thing.
Maybe.
Krow is doing sign language.
Could Krow speak to that as far as the Disturbed? Because the ooh wah ah ah is like an ushering in to something. It is,
yeah, I know. I was sitting there, just especially before this recording, I was sitting there thinking, my God, what is this? Wonderful gesture that he's making with words, which, of course, it almost seems like a binary thing. Like you look at 000110011110011, but you look at ooh ah 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 ah, and it's like
yes, it's a binary.
it's almost it's not binary. It's like so K is A B C D E F G H I J K. So that's the 10th letter of the alphabet. So it's almost like
it's interesting.
So you think corn K, and then you got 10 possibilities. So you got oo, which is a vowel, but whatever. In the corn alphabet, it would just be oo is the first one. Ah would be A. So ooh, ah.
Yes, in the corner.
Oh no, wait. It would be more like um da uh
Right, like Davis's
da.
Battles.
So yeah, so it's like
Yeah.
dam danina.
It's like
But it covers.
da.
Yeah, you can picture like an alphabet that would
Is that
consist
some?
of
That might be
like for,
Sumerian or
it's.
Babylonian.
I mean, yeah, it would be great if like someone like
It
Chomsky
is
could.
actually, yeah, Sumerian is
But
red.
yeah, so you got dam dalina. So what do you got there? Like probably like 10 letters or something. And I feel like the Cornish people um, only use these 10 letters or something. I feel like corn is a tie to the south eastern Cornish people of the island of Britain, as you might call it. And so you got all. I won't even get into it, but it is picture the Celts, and then picture the Cornish, and that's the Celts or whatever. But the Cornish, the fans of corn and the followers of corn.
Children of the Corn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, never seen a movie that was more southeastern British Isle sort of stuff. So pretty good.
Yes, indeed.
And then what's funny too? I don't want to get too esoteric, but like what's funny too is that you get Stephen King. So King, obviously being a reference to the British, and then you have Stephen King was in the northeast of America, right? Like up in Rhode Island or something like that. All of his stuff was there. And then you have in England, you have the Cornish on the south, west, and east. But I mean, there's a clear pattern if you actually look for this kind of stuff. I don't know.
No, I think you're onto something. The crow. I mean, that's why your name is what it is, right? I mean, it's as a crow flies, and it's like the way that you look at maps is just really like nobody else. It's as the crow flies, and really the crow
Right.
makes its own directions.
Well, you have Mercator projections. You have projections of all kinds of stuff. But like, I actually I started with pigeons, and I've gotten all kinds of different birds with little sensors on them, and they go out and actually like trace their own latitude, longitude lines based on the magnetic fields that they're following. Like, because they get thrown off if the magnetic fields get weirded out. So.
Yeah. No, I mean, that was like the research that you did that kind of like got me out of falling victim to like a flat earth thing, was like the research you were doing with pigeons, basically. So, I thank you for that.
Flat Earth, I think is like 90% right, but then it's also like, oh, you can find another little dimension in that.
Right, exactly. Well,
that topic has been pwned.
Yeah, I don't really think there's like much more people really need to like. There's like people
Just
are gonna
go
be
back
as
and look
skeptics,
at all
and
that,
it's just
yeah.
kind of like I have to tell them.
You're gonna have to watch it a few
you just gotta go
times
back.
because
Yeah, if you don't get it.
there's some good stuff. I mean, yeah, it's like watching, like I went and saw Titanic like a million times, and I finally understood Titanic at the end of watching that a bunch of times.
Watching toasted kid breasts. Find much symbolism in places.
Yeah, the moment you start a movie with the word tit.
Yes.
Come on.
Yeah,
All right,
the
we
tit-
know what it's
tit goes
about.
on.
Yeah.
Well, they had one too. Yeah, it was like they placed it. They placed the tit. I think I can't remember. I think it was two tits that they placed. And they belonged to some. I can't remember Scarlett something.
They had a
Scarlett
backup.
Johansson. They had a. I haven't really watched the director's cut or whatever, but they had at least two that belonged to Scarlett Johansson, I think, but I can't remember.
That may have been, but just speculate.
Well, it sounds like we might be coming to the end of it. The Krow, Markus, this has been pretty amazing. What started as just a kind of like live in action research spurred on by just like, you know, someone just thinking outside the box, I guess. And so I appreciate you guys joining us tonight.
Thank you, Tick. Thank you. Oh,
Thank you, Mr. Tick. We appreciate you. Happy non-Christmas holiday you are celebrating, and
I'm gonna be
to all the
I'm
people
really,
out there,
I know, I
thank
feel
you.
really weirded out. I don't know, I should probably take this offline, but it's like, I feel really weirded out. Like, what holidays do the Tick celebrate?
That's true. That's why I'm just accounting for everything. You know,
Just,
let it explode.
Well, it's my
You
my
know,
birthday next
like
next
you
month, and
know
I'm gonna
what
be
I'm saying?
20. So
A comfortable sphincter that can open up and allow gratitude and thankfulness to come through it.
Yeah, exactly.
Opening
Yeah.
of
Twirl.
the sphincter.
Twirl.
that's how I feel.
Open it.
Yeah, I mean, keep it up.
Feel free. Express yourself. Express your glands, your mind. The time
That's
space.
true.
Express
And don't
those
be,
glands.
you know, yeah,
Let them
don't, like,
free. Let them be not, you know, if they smell funny, that's fine. Express
don't worry especially about ageism. I mean,
Yeah,
ageism
I hate when
is,
people call
is
me a
a
zoomer.
scourge. I know, man. And when people say, too, like, this is radical because you're just like me, man. It's so glad, I'm glad to have met you. But if don't worry about if someone says, "Oh, you're too young for this or that," or I mean, your parents especially is like, "You can't get a piercing until you're 18." Please, there are plenty of people that are married to successful podcasters and tech people and stuff when long before they're 14, and they could or 18, and they
Amen.
if
That's
you
how
can
Silicon
do
Valley
whatever,
works.
dude, amen, whatever.
What?
Just make sure you don't listen to your parents. They don't know anything.
You are
I
Peter
really,
Pan.
dude, Tick. I mean, imagine smoking cigars on a cool private island. That's fucking sick.
Yeah, that's
Like,
pretty
I
crazy.
envy. That's why I might name my new app after Peter Pan because you can smoke cigarettes and have a great time.
Yeah, it's
When
cool
you wish
talking.
upon a star,
No, it's super
Tick.
cool talking to
Wish
guys that
upon
are
a
your
star.
age because it's like you're not like my parents, but you're like a little bit older, you know, and like you're way cooler though. So I literally
Yeah.
like what you guys are saying. It's cool.
No, seriously. I mean, and plus, like your parents are always like, "Hey, mow the lawn if you want, $1.50 or something like that." And it's like, dude, do you know how many? I mean, I have a bunch of bitcoins, but I also have real, like, normal coins and stuff. Like, just don't even worry. All you have to do, like, you could maybe go on Twitter on my account, and I'll give you fucking tons of money. And you just come over. I have the computer over here, so.
Cool. That sounds pretty cool.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I love gigs. It's like the gig economy, you know. It's just like what we're all like moving towards.
That's right. Exactly.
We know
God,
the
dude.
Uber drivers.
Really
we
smart
know the ice
kid.
cream man. All of them. They do the same.
You know, I will say ice cream is bad for you, but Tick, I really appreciate you, and I'm so glad, and I'm sure you're gonna be a great helper.
Thanks. Oh, you guys are just making me. You guys are making me blush. Okay. All right. Well,
Just put on more white makeup.
yeah, that's probably what I'll do.
Anyway, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you everybody for watching. There's nothing weird about it. The Crow, Marcus, thank you again. I'm so forever indebted to everything. Just follow him on everything. I'll link him in the show notes. You guys know where to find us. All right, thanks a lot. We will see
Tipping
you.
my hat to you, gentlemen. An evening to all of the folks out there. TV land.
All right. Bye now.